Okay, to start off, I just want to say I did learn a lot from this class, from learning what trauma is, which is both a psychological and physical reaction to an event, what trauma-informed care is, which is a delivery approach, and trauma-specific services, which is a evidence-based intervention, prevention, any type of specific services. And more often than not, when trauma does occur, human rights are violated. And after all of what we did in class and everything else, I do still think that social work is a human rights profession. Social workers connect people, their clients, to resources that help them get their basic human rights, such as food, shelter, clothing. I mean, they even help with education, pretty much help with everything. And so that's why I think that they're a human rights profession, because of doing that. And I think too, if other professions and sectors of the world kept up with that, we probably wouldn't have to work so hard. And everything that I did learn in this class definitely contributed to my social work development. Like different perspectives and things like that. Specifically, 2 class activities I think really helped with giving me a different perspective, especially what it was like to be a client. The one where we did the index cards and had to put what we thought was a need or a luxury down, because what is a need or a luxury to somebody is definitely totally different from somebody else. And especially you, Professor Corello, pointed that out to my group when you mentioned that having internet access for an MSW student is definitely a necessity, where, most other people that is just a luxury. And the other class activity that I think definitely helped with that was the one where we were timed for the 10 minutes and we were on the run and we could only pack a bag within 10 minutes, because I know if I was actually put into that situation, I would have no idea what to pack. And especially, even though it was just a hypothetical scenario that you put us in, that amount of pressure, even hypothetically, it's amazing what people are capable of under pressure, though. And many of our clients that we're going to run into are going to be in a state of crisis. And maybe not as extreme as that, but a crisis nonetheless, where they feel that kind of pressure. So I think it's really important to have that sort of perspective. And I think that activity really did that. And then there was definitely a lot of readings too that contributed to social work development, and seeing other points of views and just learning new things, because personally I didn't know about the 3 generations of human rights, which we learned in that one article about human rights and the trauma model, if they were genuine partners or uneasy allies. Learning that the first generation of human rights are civil and political rights, which protect us, from discrimination and allow us the freedom of speech and belief. And the second generation being economic, social, and cultural, which include access to things like food and shelter and employment and even healthcare. And the third generation being more collective solidarity rights, so a healthy ecosystem, not living in pollution and things like that, which is very important and can be very traumatizing, because just thinking about living near landfills, I used to work in Niagara Falls, and that smell of the landfills that were there, I could not imagine living in that, and the kind of diseases and things that could happen after that. And thinking about human rights in a different way also came from Module 3 specifically, and Chapter 3 in the textbook, and viewing material in the folder specifically of sexual and domestic violence, because public and private human rights, I think, are very interesting, because oftentimes, such in the case of domestic violence or sexual assault, that happens in private, but it is very much so a public matter. And, it's very controversial too, because it's like, what happens in the home, you don't really, a lot of people, air your dirty laundry or something, but it's definitely a public matter. And I think too, watching that ABC News video that was provided in that folder about rape on campuses, that was really eye-opening, and it just expanded my view about human rights and trauma, because they can be violated in many different spheres that a person, belongs to, on the micro, meso, and macro level, and they could be violated simultaneously. So it's like, even though the sexual assault to that college student happened in private, it affected her meso, the macros, like the college campus and everything, and then it unfortunately resulted in her taking her own life, and that then affects other people and is even traumatizing to not just the person that it happened to, but the other people in their lives. So just thinking about how it happens like that. And then I would say lastly, the Module 6, and especially the PowerPoint that was made by Lisa Butler. I like the graph in it specifically, and how it shows resilience and post-traumatic growth after a traumatic event or, stressor, and learning that resilience is more of just a bounce back. You go back to baseline, and, nothing negative really came out of it. And post-traumatic growth being you're better after the event happened, and that you grew from it. You are now even more resilient, so your baseline is going to be even higher after that. And the graph really paints a great picture about that. And although, of course, no one wants to go through any trauma or a traumatic event, but it's optimistic knowing that it could be okay. It could be even better than okay at the end of it. And it's, also thinking about how vicarious trauma happens, vicarious resilience, vicarious post-traumatic growth. It's also a possibility, making this work even more rewarding, positive, because our relationships with our clients are great. And I look forward to using everything that I learned in my future internship as a professional moving forward in my development. And I just want to say thank you, Professor Corello, for teaching me, and learning with you was a great semester. Enjoy the rest of your year.